Hey guys and gals, today's subject is going to be a little bit about myself and the roots of my prepping. And I'm the Homestead Prepper, and what you're looking at here is I've got some stuff growing here. We bought that at Walmart. That's basil, oregano, and parsley. I've got my seed trays here, and I got a bunch of stuff that I'm doing right here. I got it labeled, waiting for it to sprout. It's only been out here a couple of days, and it's written on those things. That's a whole bed of Floriana Flint corn. Hoping that turns out nice this year. And this is mustard greens and kale and collards. And if you look here, I got my first sprouts, and that's okra. But this video isn't about gardening. It's about the roots of my prepping. And what I wanted to say, guys, is a lot of what you see on my channel and a lot of what I'm about is directly relates from what I learned from my parents. And my parents, I would not say are preppers. I would say they are survivors. And the reason I say that is because they endured some really hard times in their life, and they were able to cope with whatever came up, and they always found a solution and they got through it. And the hard economic times that they lived through, it was not the Great Depression, but it was being in the service. I've talked to some other people who were in the service at that time, some people about my age, and they reported the same things. They were hungry, and my parents had to go without food, and they didn't have anybody that they could fall back on. So they had to figure it out for themselves. And us kids growing up, my parents would tell stories, like my dad told a story that when he was out in the field, they would eat sea rations, and they'd open them up, and some of the guys would take those sea rations. It'd be beanie weenies, and they'd take them and they'd throw them off in the bushes, and he would run over there and get them and put them in his rucksack. And he told anybody, he goes, hey, if you don't want that stuff, I'll take it. You don't need to throw it out there. And what he did is when he got back home, he put that stuff he'd collected from the old sea rations, and he put it up in a cupboard. But what really impressed me when I was a kid was they lost their checks one month. And if you know the efficiency of the government, then you could probably find that story believable. Hey, Nate. And they had to go a while without any money, and they were already living hand to mouth, and then they couldn't issue them any more money. They couldn't do anything for them. So what my mom did is she took some rice and she took some of those sea rations, and they were able to eat until they got a check. So that made a big impression on me. My mom came from, I guess, like a well-to-do family, and she said it hurt her pride when they went away in the service and she had to buy a coat from a second-hand store. She said that really knocked a lot out of her. But, she had to do what she had to do. And I remember being a kid, and I come home and there was two new couches in the living room, and I said, boy, those are nice couches. Where'd you get them? And they go, oh, we got them at the Goodwill, but don't tell anybody. And if you never tell anybody where you got stuff, they'll never know. And back then, it's quite fashionable nowadays to go and get a $1,500 couch for $25 or whatever. Or get a $300 bomber jacket for $30. That's quite fast. That's the rage nowadays. Of course, there are people who look down on it, but my parents were they are experts at stretching a dollar and making do with what they have or what they don't have. I also remember, I think I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, and my mom had a place in the cabinets that she had these 1-gallon, they were apple juice jars, and back then they were made out of glass, and it was thick glass, and she had rice and beans stored up in there, and she says, you always want to have a little reserve. So that you know, like I said, these things you hear as a kid, they form you, they mold you. I also had a great uncle. He lived in Mobile, and this was in 1974. He took us down in his basement, and he had row after row of canned goods down there. And he said they dated back from the 1950s. And he had lived through the Great Depression, so he was not going to go hungry. He also, what really impressed me is he had a barrel or barrels, I don't remember, you know, we're talking 40 years ago, and he had $4,000 of silver coin down there. It's just stuff that he had just been saving up for years. And I remember he sold it for $5,600. So he made $1,600 off of stuff he had just been saving. Anyway, I had another uncle, a great uncle. He lived in Mobile. And I remember he was telling the family, and he was telling us kids, that when he lived through the Great Depression, he was so hungry he ate out of a garbage can. You know, now back then, you know, we all said, "Oh, Uncle, you know, you know, we thought he was just kidding." But, you know, none of the adults were laughing at that time when he told that story. And I'm thinking he probably did have to do that. You know, so you never know what you might have to do, guys. It's better to be a little bit prepared than not prepared at all. And, you know, if you've been prepping since you were born, that's great. If you're brand new to prepping, you just got started, hey, it's never too late. You're going to be a whole lot better off, you know, by having 10 pounds of rice, 10 pounds of beans, and a water filter than you are by having nothing. So, anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your prepping stories or roots of your prepping, and I'm the Homestead Prepper. Out.